The $700 billion napkin doodle was sketched by Jeff Bezos in 2001 on a restaurant coaster. This simple loop of arrows promised that lower prices would eventually lead to more customers and even more sellers. Today, that same mechanical diagram has evolved into a massive global engine that generates more revenue than most countries. The original vision of cheap goods for everyone has been replaced by a system fueled by hidden seller fees. How did a small paper drawing become the most powerful and aggressive economic force in the modern digital age? The answer starts not with technology or venture capital, but with a single self-reinforcing idea drawn in ballpoint pen. Bezos believed that if you made something cheaper, more people would come, and more people meant more sellers wanting access to those customers. More sellers meant more products meant lower costs, and lower costs meant you could drop prices again. The loop feeds itself, which is exactly what made it so dangerously elegant from the very beginning. Nobody in that restaurant could have known the coaster would eventually outweigh the entire American retail industry in raw economic force. The diagram looked innocent then, but the machine it described never needed to stay that way. The flywheel starts with a single promise: lower prices than anyone else can offer. Lower prices pull in more customers, and more customers make the platform worth selling on for outside merchants. More merchants mean more products on the shelf, and more selection keeps customers coming back instead of leaving. That returning traffic gives Amazon the volume it needs to negotiate harder with suppliers and cut its own costs. Lower costs let Amazon drop prices further, and the wheel has now completed one full rotation. Each turn of the loop doesn't just maintain the system, it accelerates it, because every gain compounds the one that follows. The math is almost embarrassingly clean. Growth feeds efficiency, and efficiency funds more growth. Bezos drew this on a napkin in 2001, and the diagram hasn't needed a single correction since then. What he built wasn't a business strategy so much as a physical law dressed in a corporate org chart. The wheel was always going to spin. The question was only what it would eventually cost to ride it. But by 2023, Amazon's advertising business alone was generating nearly $40 billion a year in pure, high-margin profit. That number didn't come from selling you a cheaper blender. It came from charging sellers to be seen near the blender you were already going to buy. Third-party sellers now account for roughly 60% of all units sold on Amazon, and every one of them pays to play. They pay listing fees, fulfillment fees, storage fees, and then they pay again just to appear at the top of your search results. The flywheel still spins on low prices and wide selection, but the profit lives somewhere the napkin never showed. Amazon built a marketplace so dominant that sellers have no real alternative, which means the fees can only move in one direction. Retail margins in this business run thin, sometimes 1 or 2%. But advertising margins run closer to 30. The loop Bezos sketched was designed to serve the customer, but the gears that generate wealth now quietly tax the seller. And the machine keeps accelerating, not because prices keep falling, but because the toll road just keeps getting more valuable. Somewhere around 2015, Amazon stopped needing to push the flywheel and started needing to steer it. The loop Jeff Bezos sketched on a napkin had grown heavy enough to generate its own momentum, pulling everything inward. Sellers fund the ads surface the products attract the customers justify the sellers. The circle closes itself. What began as a strategy to win on price had quietly become a machine that wins by existing. The original flywheel was a promise to the customer: lower prices, better selection, a fairer deal than the store down the street. The new flywheel is a promise to the shareholder: predictable margin, compounding scale, and fees that arrive whether retail wins or loses. Amazon doesn't need a visionary in a conference room deciding what comes next anymore. The system has its own gravity now, and gravity doesn't ask for permission before it pulls. It doesn't need you to push. It needs you to hold on.